What's up guys, Robert Alto Bodies, back with another educational video for you. Why women should be lifting weights. That's what we're going to dive into, the pros and the cons, myth busting. Hopefully I can convince the female viewers that they should be lifting weights if they're wanting to improve their physique, their metabolism, their fat burning, etc. Even the men, and the men can tell their partners, their friends, girlfriends, sisters, mothers, grandparents, so we'll go into like age-related things as well and the benefits, and can convince you that resistance training, dumbbells, barbells, machines aren't as scary as you think. The weights area in the gym isn't just for men, the cardio isn't just for women, and we can hopefully put an end to it. Let's start with, go back sort of 10 years ago or so, around there. You go into any sort of gym, rows of treadmills, bikes, rowers, cross trainers. Usually the majority of the women are going to be on those. You get men in there as well, obviously. I'm not being sexist, it just seems to what you seem to see, and I'm sure a lot of people agree with me. This sort of big bum, legs squatting, sort of hip thrusting phenomenon is probably more of a positive because it's got women into lifting weights and squatting, which is great. But I still think, even this, we fast forward to this sort of moment in time, I still think majority of women probably think weights are going to make them bulky. That is the number one myth that we're going to start with. Let's get one out of the way. A big con, well, it's a con, you might get injured. Okay, you have more chance of getting injured squatting, pulling a muscle, than if you're just bobbing along on the cross trainer. That's fair enough, I can't argue with that one, but I think it's a minor con, and it's probably very, very unlikely. It doesn't happen often compared to all the pros. So that is probably the only con that I'd actually agree with. So the first one is bulky. So I write resistance training programs for majority of my female clients. 99.9% of the time I will recommend it. Trust me, men will agree with me here, I'm sure. Myself, we've been trying to put on muscle for years and years and years. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's a marathon rather than a sprint. You're not just going to look at this pink dumbbell and curl it and have a massive bicep overnight. Men are trying so hard to gain muscle, and it's very difficult task. So you're not going to end up bulky for that reason. Physiologically, hormonal profile talking, testosterone levels are much higher in men. That's why we're male. Females have a small amount of testosterone. It's necessary for a lot of processes. So, but it's just not going to happen. Like that's why you have male and female separation when it comes to sports. You won't see female rugby players playing against male rugby players because they've got an unfair advantage. It's not sexist. It's just hormonally, they just don't have the testosterone to support that amount of muscle. It just doesn't happen. So don't worry about that. It's not going to occur unless you're taking anabolic steroids. Like Google female anabolic steroid bodybuilder. That is not what you're going to look like. What you're going to look like is a more toned, slender, aesthetically pleasing, strong physique, and you can choose the shape of it more with muscles, which we'll go into as well. So men can't even do it because we try our best. So it's not just going to happen. Don't worry about that. Hormonally, not going to happen. So bulky, myth gone. Cardio is better, or women should be doing cardio. Women in the cardio section, men in the weight section. Again, I think that's a huge problem and a huge error, really. It can be quite dangerous, metabolically dangerous. And what I mean by that is, let's take a woman that comes to starting a diet. They start a diet, great, they're making a lifestyle choice, and then they add some cardio in for their exercise program just additionally, because that's what we get told, that's what we've heard. Or they start running, they go on the cross trainer. Not going to go on the weights, that's for the blokes. Problem with this is, say this woman is 13 stone, for example. She trains hard for a month in the gym, she's watching a diet, she drops down to 12 stone, she's lost a stone. Half of that half of that weight is probably going to be muscle. Half fat, half muscle, which we don't want. When we say weight loss, we want all fat loss. And what is occurring there? Because when you're in a calorie deficit and your body's catabolic, which means breaking down, it's trying to find energy from elsewhere because you're not putting as much in from your diet. You're in a calorie deficit, which is great, but you're not giving your body a stimulus to keep hold of the muscle that it has got in the first place, which is where weight training comes in. So it will attack muscle tissue for energy and it'll attack fat tissue for energy. What happens here is you become a smaller version of yourself rather than trying to change your shape. So let's just say you're sort of apple shaped, you just become a smaller apple. Very simplistic, but that's just trying to get the point across. So why does this occur, or what can we do about it? So we know why it occurs, because the body is just wanting energy from where it can, so it'll attack muscle and fat. So the problem with this is, when you've gone down from your 13 stone to your 12 stone, let's say at 13 stone, you need 1500 calories to maintain your weight. You lose a stone, get down to 12, your resting metabolic rate, or your calories to stay for that weight, will drop because you've lost muscle. So let's say it changes to 1200 calories. So you carry on eating that 1500 calories at that weight, you're going to slowly just go back up, and maybe more so. That's why, how many people have lost weight, yo-yoed back and forth, and look in the mirror and be honest with yourself, at this moment in time, you might be the heaviest you've ever been, which is not nice to hear, but we need to know why it's happening. It's like, oh, I've been on diets all my life, and you just end up yo-yoing back, but you feel like you're not eating that much. So you feel like you're trying really hard, but you're still hungry, and it's not your fault. But again, it's kind of your problem, because so your body's lost muscle, so your metabolic rate has dropped. So as we'll get onto the pros, muscle is very metabolically expensive tissue. So just having more muscle on your body burns fat at rest. Muscle's always breaking down and building up, etc. Using a lot of energy when you do weight train, burning a lot of calories. So you try eat 1500 calories when you were 13 stone. You try doing that when you're 12 stone. You're slowly going to put the weight back on, because you've lost muscle. Your calorie input that your body needs has dropped because it's not having to support that muscle. Slowly going to creep back on, and more. That is why I think the majority of why yo-yo dieting occurs. We need to put a stop to this. That's why I always recommend weight training, especially for women, or for any sort of person that's going on a diet, to add into their program, because of the main pro. It's very fat burning. It's very lipolytic is the word. So burning fat. As we've said, it's metabolically expensive tissue. So that is, I'd probably give you that as number one reason, especially if you're during a fat loss phase, your metabolism's going to be higher if you've got more muscle. Number one. Number two, as we've said, you don't just want to become a small version of yourself, a smaller version of yourself. You don't want to be the same sort of shape. I'm sure no one wants that. So when they're burning fat, you want to maintain as much muscle as possible, as we've said, because of the increased fat burning, and to keep that. Basically, you want to be able to eat the same, if not more, at a lower body fat. Otherwise, you're just going to yo-yo back. So you want to be able to alter the shape of your body. If you're a male, you could do certain exercises and choose where you want to put more muscle on and change sort of shapes. Whereas that can occur with muscle building. You can select areas that the muscle working is specifically going to be stimulated, and it's got to improve. You've given it a stress, it's got to grow. It's not going to be massive and bulky, especially if you're a woman, but it's got to change shape. Whereas fat loss, you can't do a load of crunches and get shredded abs. I've done videos of that in the past. I'm sure that myth's been busted. You don't do loads of bicep curls and just end up with a really one lean bicep. So you can't spot sight. It's not site specific fat burning. Whereas muscle building, you can really alter the shape of your body. That's why women, you've probably seen in gyms or in videos, a lot of them might be doing like glute kickbacks, hip thrusts, squats. They're trying to build muscle on the legs and the bum, etc. You can target areas. So when you do lose weight, if you're doing that as well, and you just want to be a nice sort of balance, you're working every muscle group, you can alter the shape of your body while you're burning fat, and the majority of the weight can be fat. So that's the main pros and cons. It's really fun. It's not an hour on the cross trainer like this, which you're never going to stick to. You need a program that you can stick to get results. If you can't see yourself doing something in 6 months' time, forget it. So if you're still weight training a year, because you can do 12 different exercises, every time you go in the gym, you can do a different exercise from last time, you will stick to it then. It's a lot more fun. And I think the main one is, as I spoke of, like getting your mother, your grandma, your great-grandma, etc. Obviously, maybe under some supervision and make sure they're safe. But Osteoporosis is a real thing. Menopause is a real thing, so they tie hand in hand. When you get a reduction in estrogen levels, bone density can decrease. What's the best way of maintaining or even increasing bone density? There's two things: eating more protein. Okay, probably another video. So hopefully if you're eating how I recommend, you'll get that anyway. But the stronger the muscle is, the stronger the bone. So muscles attached to bones via tendons, so they pull on the bone. So bicep, for example, attached to the radius bone, pull to be order to flex your arm. So if that muscle's strong, it's pulling on that bone has to be strong as well. So increase bone density. So you see these frail old men, old women, etc., or you might look at your mum and think, oh, she's getting a bit shorter, and you go see your grandma and she's down here. Okay, weight training is brilliant for that. Keep it safe, but a stronger muscle is a stronger bone. Remember that. So I think it's great for that as well. So I won't yabber on much more. The main message is lower the cardio, increase the weights, like, subscribe, comment, tag your friends. If you like this video, maybe drop a comment. If you've got any other ideas what you want me to talk about, if you've got any other specific questions to yourself, private message, comment, whatever you want to do. Cheers for listening. If you've made it this far, see you later.